How's it going, guys? And I'm here with your Smackdown review. And before we get started with the actual review, we're going to talk about a few things going on right now in, well, the wrestling world, because I'm going to talk about AEW. Brian DeGoff from the Wrestling Juggernauts requested this over on my Dragon Ball Z Kakarot review, which I think you should go check out that review. I think that's probably like one of my best video game reviews. I thought that one came out really well. It's a really great game, a game that I actually spent a few months actually playing. But anyway, I mean, this is a wrestling review, not a DBZ video. We'll get to those soon enough. But anyway, I got to talk about Blood and Guts, AEW. This is what was requested. I don't know if anyone else mentioned this on any of my other videos, but I saw Brian's request, and I'm sure a lot of other people are probably curious what I think about this. And yeah, it's pretty fucking shitty. I'm not even kidding. I'm not just saying this to get my point across. I was laughing hysterically at the end of this because I had heard what happened from Burying the Smarks on IG, and I saw some still shots and everything. I was like, this is going to be bad, but I'm not going to be surprised by it because I expect this from AEW. I mean, after all, what happened with the ticking time bomb match, that they had, the death match? That was probably one of the worst finishes of all time, one of the worst moments. One of the worst stunts, if you could even classify it as a stunt, because there really was no stunt. It was lack thereof. I mean, I guess you could kind of classify it as a degree of a stunt, but whatever the case may be, this was horrifically bad. So I caught, the YouTube video, the clip that they put, the last 5 minutes of the match, where we've got MJF and Jericho on top of the cage. So this is kind of like a war game style match. That's kind of what's behind it. This is they christened this episode of Dynamite Blood and Guts, I believe. So it was all about blood and guts, and everyone's celebrating. Hooray! 1 million views. That's some kind of an accomplishment. These goofballs don't even remember when TNA Impact, when Russo was writing for them, actually cracked 2 million views. They had 2.1 million views. Do you guys realize you have a whole nother million views to go before you get to TNA at its high point? Do you realize how far away you have to actually more than double your rating to get to that point? And we're talking about after so many more wrestling fans have just completely forgotten about wrestling. They've moved on to other shit. So you might be saying, well, what the fuck happened on the show, Brad? How bad could it be, right? Well, how bad could it be? So anyway, we've got MJF and Jericho on top of the cage. They're fighting it out. He's saying, I'm going to throw Jericho off, which to me just looked kind of goofy. If you're going to do the spot, don't threaten the spot. Did Undertaker threaten Rikishi? Oh, I'm going to throw you off. No, he just fucking threw him off. Now, I get the point. He wanted the Inner Circle to surrender to the Pinnacle. That's MJF's faction, the Pinnacle. He broke off from the Inner Circle about a month or two ago, or I think even longer than that. Whatever's going on in AEW, that piece of garbage. Anyway, so after they surrender, he ends up, just pushing him off anyway. Jericho goes back first off the cage, slams down to the ground, except the ground's the ground, and it's, usually when there's a crash pad, you've seen it in WWE, it's pretty well concealed. You've seen it with Shane McMahon. They keep it off camera, so you still get all the spectacle, and you don't really have to think about it. Because as long as it's out of sight, out of mind, the crash pad, and you do some intricate, cinematography, and you actually aim the camera or position the cameras at a certain angle where it's not so evident. This was extremely evident. In fact, so much so that when Jericho falls down, he falls onto fucking cardboard. I haven't seen that much cardboard since the Nintendo Labo. Remember that shit? That really goofy thing where Nintendo was actually selling their consumers cardboard and you can make little things and play games. It was designed for kids, but they were selling you like $50 cardboard. You've got a grown man falling onto a pile of cardboard, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, mind you, and he's reduced to falling onto a bunch of fucking cardboard, and it's designed to look like metal, and it looked like a kid's playset. I'm not even kidding you. You have to go watch this on YouTube. I hate to say to give them views on YouTube, but this is some hilarious unintentional comedy. I mean, you don't even see this from indie feds. Well, you kind of do, but you kind of don't, you know, because they probably wouldn't even try something like this because it looks so horrible. And it's been done before. You know, you had Rikishi falling onto the back of a pickup truck, and it looked good because the crash pad was concealed inside the hay. If you watch Armageddon 2000, if you're getting that reference, and that was a really good looking spot when they did it between two pros. And I mean, Jericho's a pro, MJF, you know, but he fell onto this cardboard, and you know, when the stuff flips up and it's like it's painted to look like metal. And then on the bottom of it, it just looks like fucking cardboard. And you see how thin it is, you know, and you get like this paper crunching sound. I mean, what the fuck? Tony Khan, you know, he's over there gloating about, oh, you know, you're delayed by a rainstorm. Just put down some carpet. You know, okay, like, so what carpet was he talking about? Like $2 carpet? Because look at this shit. This is the best prop he can afford. I mean, his family owns the fucking Jaguars, a fucking football team in the NFL. And this is the best that he could do. This is the best he can do. That's a fucking joke right there. That's a farce if I ever did see one. That was pitiful. That looked awful. That looked horrible. And I'm seeing goofballs on YouTube. I don't know. I think AEW probably deleted the negative comments. I definitely saw way more dislikes than you would normally. There was like maybe 10,000 likes and like 852 dislikes. So I guess that's not that bad, but it's definitely more than the AEW zombies would probably, you know, have on their YouTube videos. But yeah, I mean, this looked fucking awful, and you know they're also canceling a lot of videos. You know, they're doing a lot of copyright claims, and Botchamania had their channel removed off of YouTube. Yeah, we're for the fans, guy, right? You know, they're all for the smarks. So you've got Botchamania that is run by smarks, mind you. They are, right? I believe that they are. I mean, these are people that are, you know, what did they? I believe they used to promote Shakira Pro and everything. That horrible indie fed. Anyway, or I don't know what the fuck that shit was, but they used to advertise at the beginning of their videos. But anyway, I mean, they're going after like real wrestling fans who actually probably watched their show to get this footage in the first place, and they're canceling them off of YouTube. Yeah, Tony, you're really for the fans. Not even McMahon. Oh, McMahon is so horrible. Well, he doesn't go after the fans like this. You never see McMahon. You still have tons of WWE content that's, you know, that hasn't been copyright claimed on YouTube. But Tony Khan, here he goes. He's taking everything down, you know, as far as the eye can see. That's enough of AEW. Let's talk about Eva Marie. So a bunch of, you know, smarks, of course. You know, what do I even mean by smarks? I mean, we talk about them sometimes, but, you know, people that believe that women's wrestling is sacred. They believe that Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair had a Rock Austin moment at WrestleMania. Yeah, that was a real Rock Austin moment, guys. You know, something, let me tell you, WrestleMania 17, that main event, I said it before. I remember years ago I did a top 10 list of my favorite matches of all time in WWE at least. And I said it was my favorite match of all time. Guys, forget about that match. Bianca and Sasha, that's where it was at. That finish with the hair whip. Oh my God. Forget about an epic battle between the two most over wrestlers of all time with a great finish with a swerve that no one saw coming. Give me a fucking break. I mean, these people actually believed what Sam Roberts said. I'm still reeling. I talked about that last week. I'm still reeling from the fact that anyone could actually white knight so much that they would actually bring their mouth to form those words to say that WrestleMania 17 Rock versus Austin was surpassed. That it had the same feeling. That it had the same energy. Really, energy. Well, I've got my scouter on, guys, and I'm not reading a very high power level from that shit. So so Eva Marie, she's coming back to WWE. It's the Evolution. Last time it was a massive, major failure, her return. They were doing some goofy stuff with wardrobe malfunctions that went absolutely nowhere. Like, her career went nowhere. But she is hot. She is probably one of the best looking women they've probably ever had. I mean, first of all, she looks like a real woman. Now, someone over in Wrestling Juggernauts posted a picture of Dawn Marie, and it's the same thing. The women from years ago, Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler, Trish Stratus, they all looked like women. Why is it that they're all the same age as Bianca Belair, when they all first started, yet they all had this look where they looked like women? They actually looked like women, like actual women, not like little girls. To me, Bianca Belair, she looks like a kid. Sasha Banks looks like a kid. I don't know how to explain this, but they just look very immature. And therefore they look unattractive to me because they all look like little girls. They really do. It's just nothing's enticing about them. And before you'd be like, oh, well, they look better than anything you'd get, Brad. Well, you know what? I don't give a fuck. I'm just gonna tell you straight up that these girls, not to say that they're completely ugly or unattractive. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that they don't look like real women. And when I look at Eva Marie, I see a real woman there. That's an attractive girl. That girl looks like a star. She looks like if you saw her down the street, you wouldn't say that's a little girl. You would say that's a girl that deserves attention. She looks like a woman that's, yeah, that kind of thing. I don't go, yeah, when I look at Bianca Belair, I just go, same thing. You see my reaction to these girls. And you hear, when I talk about women of the past, it's very positive. And this is where I got knocked and everything, and some goof even called me racist on my WrestleMania review because I talked about two girls that happened to be minorities in the main event, and it quite clearly had nothing to do with that. It just had to do with I don't like them as wrestlers, and I don't think that they're over, and they're not over because no one's interested in watching them. If they were interested in watching them, then their segments would be the highest rated, right? So there you go with that. There's no argument really to be had there, I believe. But, you could say what everyone has all the excuses in the book. They've done it for years and years. The product sucks. The women's wrestling sucks. The men's wrestling sucks. So in turn, the women's wrestling sucks even worse. But Eva Marie, I like Eva Marie. Am I saying she's the greatest wrestler of all time? Well, is Sasha Banks a great wrestler? That's what I'm saying. I don't get this, this is the measuring stick. How is Bianca Belair this great wrestler? What does she do, and what does Sasha do that's so amazing? I mean, when I watch, I see a lot of sloppy work. I just see a lot of nonsense going from spot to spot, choreographed nonsense. I just see a lot of posing and bad acting. I mean, what am I seeing here? I mean, if you ask me, I'd rather look at a hot chick like Eva Marie that actually looks like a girl, you know, a real woman that seems confident in herself, and these giggling and smiling and shit. That's not for me. Maybe it's for you, but it's not for me. Anyway, let's move on to SmackDown here. So this was old school night, but it wasn't like old school night. It was retro SmackDown. But they couldn't like really decide if they wanted to be like just a general retro show or a retro SmackDown. So I see on YouTube that they redid and other people have done this where they've put the modern wrestlers into the old intro styles, and it's always worked out very nicely. There's some very talented people on YouTube and on the internet that do some very impressive work. Not, you know, and editing, like way beyond anything I could ever dream of doing. And so they do it on YouTube, but does it make it to the show where it would be awesome and appropriate and maybe eye-catching to some? Doesn't make it to the show. Instead, we get, like, why are they using, like, the classic intro? And they're using, they do show you the SmackDown logo, but they're also using the 80s logo. And I'm asking myself, what the fuck? The scratch logo was always used with the SmackDown logo. And you look at the ring, and it doesn't even have the classic SmackDown logo on there. And that's digital. They didn't even have to make a ring apron. Because they don't even do that anymore with aprons, if you notice. It's all just like a digital screen on the ring now. So with that in mind, you look at the other side, and it's the current SmackDown logo when the camera pans to that side. And then they do a digital fist, which is like, let me tell you something. This is exactly like movies and cartoons. CGI has like ruined shit because like no one hand draws things anymore except for certain things. So they all just CGI everything up the ass. And that's what we're getting from WWE. Oh, we don't have to try any more fancy sets because we'll just CGI the fist in there. Let the fist that's in the WWE warehouse just rot and collect dust because, fuck, you know what? We rolled it out for WrestleMania. You know, they had it like laying down, but okay, at least they, you know, somehow got it over there into the Performance Center for WrestleMania in 2020. And they had an excuse because it's a pandemic and whatever, but you know, you don't even have that. They have like all week to get the fist over there, and I would just CGI that shit in there. That's exactly what they do. This just really was stupid. And throughout this show, you're seeing all these classic clips, and you just remember how much better SmackDown was. Hogan and Edge winning the SmackDown tag titles. Then we get the great moment of Stone Cold and Booker T in the supermarket. And these are like moments, and you watch them, and you just say to yourselves, wow, wrestling has not been good in 20 years. And that's the takeaway right there. You're getting great moments. We've seen these moments before, but it's like WWE's putting this shit out there, and, you know, you see it. And, like, think about something here for a moment. You look at, like, moments like that, like the supermarket with Stone Cold and Booker T. Like, okay, if they're worried about, like, current SJW culture and everything, what would be, like, wrong with having two guys wrestle, like, in a supermarket? Not to copy the same thing, but, like, don't they see that, like, they took this shit out of the arena, that they're going around, that they're doing something fun and original? No, you know, let's just keep doing the same thing every week. But we'll show you clips of things that were better, and we're watching because we're deciding what clips to show you. Hey, remember when we used to be good? I've said this for years. I don't get it. They have a whole network of content where they see that it was better, but they look at it, it just proves that they just don't care. As long as they're making money, as long as they're profiting, they don't really care what they're showing you. It's just fucking table scraps. It's whatever at this point, and it has been for some time. Though I will say that I did like everything pretty much, for the most part. Of course, nothing is ever perfect. Roman Reigns, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso. We finally got something different tonight. There was finally something for Roman to talk about instead of just saying, acknowledge me and I'm the head of the table 1,000 fucking times. At least Jimmy Uso came back, and at first, they're happy to have him back and everything. And then we've got Cesaro coming out. So I like this interaction of when they were out and seeing the family come back together. Like, finally, it's a little bit more. The family expands to 3 and Paul Heyman. Anyway, you've got Cesaro coming out. He tells Roman he doesn't have time from tonight. Okay, so, like, why are you coming out there then? Like, if he doesn't have time, so he's coming out there? Anyway, well... his match is next. I guess it was implied that it was next. I guess that was the point. God, that jacket looks stupid on him. What the fuck is he wearing? It's yellow with the black, and it looks like there's supposed to be like a parachute hanging. There's these clips here. Take it off. The hell's he wearing? Anyway, we got Seth Rollins jumps him from behind. Teddy Long comes out. And it makes a match. It was good to see Teddy Long. Great memories of when we actually used to have an authority figure that actually had a title. And he says, I was given the power by WWE official. How have they still not given Adam Pearce a title yet? I've never seen this before. This is who's running the show, officials. I mean, isn't everyone's an official? The referee's an official. The agents are officials. No title, no GM, no commissioner. No, he's just WWE official Adam Pearce. Whatever. Who the fuck cares anyway? But anyway, so Teddy Long makes a match, and it's basically Cesaro. If he wins against Seth Rollins, he's gonna get a title shot. Now, Seth, for some reason, Seth doesn't get a shot if he happens to win, so I don't get it. Anyway, they have their match. Whatever. This match, I didn't really care for. The Usos get involved on the outside. Cesaro manages to take advantage. Ends up getting the win. So now you got Cesaro and Roman Reigns for the Universal title. Okay. Whatever. Fantastic. Great. We all knew it was going to happen. And I am so not... Guys, I haven't even subscribed to Peacock yet. There's a very, very slim chance of me actually reviewing Backlash. I don't know at this point. Might end up doing it. Might end up not doing it. I just really have no desire to sit through what's the main event that I really do not fucking care for. At least I like Daniel Bryan and everything, but do I want to watch Cesaro versus Roman Reigns, who obviously is not going to win? And if he does, holy shit, that would just be awful. But it's not going to happen. Anyway, we got Seth Rollins is confronting Roman Reigns backstage. Roman says he'll take care of it. He says because Jimmy cost him the match. Anyway, we got Teddy Long backstage, and Sami Zayn walks up to him. Teddy does the old Undertaker thing. He already did that a few months back, so it's not really particularly funny anymore. I did like Sami Zayn. Hyper Sami Zayn was back this week talking about the conspiracy, talking about the release of his documentary after not talking about it since WrestleMania. Sonya Deville is the most awkward person on the planet. I have no idea why she's still in this role with those terrible looking suits. Teddy Long wants Sami Zayn to do the dance. And I kind of liked how Sami was sort of doing it and Sonya just looked awkward as fuck. It seems like if this was written a little bit better, I kind of sensed a little bit of Teddy Long and Sami Zayn, if this took place in another era, with just even slightly better writing, it probably would have been pretty funny. But instead we were kind of left with the shell of something that could have been. It's pretty par for the course, I would say. Anyway, Jimmy is being confronted by Roman backstage. I kind of like the tension here. Jimmy stands up for himself. He says that, Jay is basically always getting bossed around and being Roman's bitch. So, finally there's something of interest here. There's some kind of tension. It's not amazing. It's not blowing my socks off. My socks are still on my feet, thank God. But it was something different. There was something having to do with the family, and it was holding my interest. So that gets points. It held my interest. Imagine. Carmella defeated Ruby Riott, and this, I remembered that Ruby Riott is still employed by WWE, but for some fucking reason, Billy Kay is not. Billy Kay was 10 times more talent, 10 times more personality than both Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott put together, and basically all the other women, including Carmella, including Bianca Belair, Bayley, Sasha, all the goofs in the women's division. Billy Kay actually established a character that I liked seeing. From my perspective, I think there was a lot of value in her, but for some reason, Ruby Riott is better because obviously she still has a job. She's not held in high regard, but she's still there, and Billy Kay is not. I don't know. They were trying to rebuild Carmella after not showcasing her for a while. Anyway, Bayley appears on my screen. And I don't know what's going on, guys. I talked about this last week. Like, not only is Bayley bad at promos, not only did they, try to convince us that Bayley's some kind of magnificent wrestler, try to convince us that she's the, like, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle of WWE as far as wrestling goes. And obviously that's all bullshit. But Bayley here. The fuck is going on with... First of all, the haircut that she has to begin with is fucking horrendous. The hairstyle is disastrous. But on top of that, now she's got it like all blown out and she just like looks just fucking... She looks like some crazy cat lady that emerged from a trailer. I mean... What? I mean... Someone put in the YouTube comments even, it looks like she rolled out of bed. Get her some gel, get her a hair blow, get her a fucking brush or something. They have stylists back there that are... Can you imagine if Stacy Keibler or Tori Wilson or anyone else walked out there looking like this? Looking like the fucking cat dragged her in? Holy mackerel. What the hell happened? I mean, Jesus Christ, I mean, she looks like a wreck. She looked like a wreck to begin with, but somehow they made her look even worse. How is this even happening? Like, how are you presenting her like this? And then, Bianca Belair comes out there with that ginormous fucking ponytail. I mean, you're just looking at two people that just, it looks like a fucking, like, Looney Tunes cartoon here. Just totally outrageous looking, and this is not larger than life. This is larger than Goofy, basically. This is just clown stuff here. Honestly, I'm just looking at both of them, and they just look like two clowns. Seriously. Her with the hair like this, and Bianca is just like... first of all, before we even get there, we see Bayley talking about champions of the past and like, hey, look at this on the screen. And no one's even in the arena and we're still doing Titantron displays. The fuck? Anyway, so, Bianca Belair comes out, talks about confidence, everything. You were crying at Mania. You're not confident in your abilities. You're just happy to be there. I mean, Jesus. I mean, first of all, you know what? We didn't talk about Raw, but seriously, Rhea Ripley, you want to talk about unattractive? You want to talk about people that don't look like stars? Meanwhile, you got Jim Cornette. I've talked about this before. I even shared it in Wrestling Juggernauts on Facebook. I gave my opinion on Cornette. I do on YouTube, watch clips from the Cornette's, drive-in or whatever, the drive-through, whatever the hell it's called. The guy's a maniac. He's a goofball. He threatened Russo and everything. And, I have no respect for the guy. He makes me laugh sometimes, but I laugh at him, not with him. So there's a big difference there, as you know. But the fact of the matter is, like, he actually thinks that Rhea Ripley's a star. And I've heard other people say this, and I just do not understand that. I just had to get that in there. Like, I don't know, because she's taller than the other women. I mean, I've talked about, let's hire people that look like stars, but man, I was looking at a picture of her on Instagram, and I'm like, people think that this is attractive. They think that this is like what a star looks like. What the fuck? Like, I'm just saying, I don't understand like what the appeal is. And Bayley and Bianca, like, I don't know. People say this is hot. I mean, guys, come on already. Like, we've seen some of the most beautiful women in the world on SmackDown over the years. We saw one, for example. We don't even have to go. We're not even talking about the Attitude Era. Melina, Jillian Hall, you name it. You had the Bellas, for God's sakes. I mean, but man, like, holy cow. Just they all just look horrendous, and I don't know. So you got Bayley then just beats up Bianca, and I'm just can't get past the hairstyle on her. I mean, I can't believe I'm watching a show on the Fox network, WWE, and this is what I'm getting from one of the performers, someone that looks like this. We get Jimmy and Jay talking to each other in the back, and there was a lot of good rapport between the two of them. I really said, and this is with Roman, and everything. I see, like, when they get a little tension going, there is some good chemistry here. Jimmy talks about, hints at breaking away from Roman and capturing the tag titles again. That is exactly what they don't want to do. You made that much progress with Jay, what little there was, mostly talking about last year, the good matches he had with Roman, building good drama, because they were more than good matches, they were good storytelling. And they told a good story of the family rivalry during those matches. Now, everything that followed was, pretty disastrous. And I said that they did a horrible job, and you had people praising how great the head of the table, tribal chief gimmick was, but it really is, it's not been that great, because I've said it's been the same thing week after week, and to me, that's not great, that's tiresome, that's boring. So you can't say it's good, because it's boring, it really is. Anyway, yeah, let's win the tag titles. Don't even, like, try to hint at that. That's the last thing we need. These guys have won the tag titles just as much as New Day. It's sickening already. We do not need to go back to the tag team again, okay? Jey Uso proved he's good enough on his own. He could be a star if they commit to him, but instead they just job him out every time they get. And I'm sure they're probably going to do it with Jimmy. They're not done doing the tag team thing. We all know they're going to eventually go back to that. They did it with the Hardys. They did it with several other people. Then Dominic has a match with Dolph Ziggler, and the hairstyles. I mean, good God, John Morrison. He started this, and now we see it with Bayley and everything, and Bayley already had some pretty terrible hair, but I'm just saying that now Ziggler with. Like he had a Rey, like a Star Wars Rey Skywalker thing going on with, like, it was a little different. I don't think they were individual ponytails, but they were like still segmented and pretty close enough to that style. And I'm like, what the hell is Ziggler doing? First of all, he came out, the promo, the energy, the insults, they were definitely miles above anything we heard from, Seth Rollins over the past few weeks and Cesaro. I don't have time for you, Roman. Like, you know, all that just dreadful stuff. Even in that little short burst, Ziggler just, it was better. Anyway, we have a match with Dominic here. And, I mean, every time I look at Dominic, I'm just saying, like, look at the guy. Look at the guy he's in the ring with. Has an amazing physique on him. You got Bobby Roode outside, another guy with a great physique. You got his dad with a great physique. We talked about that for weeks on end. And here we have Dominic, who just looks like he's just not doing anything. He's not doing body weight exercise. He's not doing any calisthenics. He looks like he just sits around, watches TV, and then goes out there and wrestles. It seems like he wrestles pretty well, I think, but he looks like shit. He really does. He looks awful. Especially, you know, if you look like this, there's no way you're even going to become the equivalent of your dad. You're not even going to be a quarter of this. I said this is why he is going to be a David Flair. Mark my words. In a few years, you won't even hear anything about Dominic Mysterio. I hate to say it, but, you know, like, I don't want anything like I don't want the guy to fall in hard times or anything, but I'm just saying, I don't think that WWE's going to keep this guy around. Pretty soon they're going to realize he might be Mysterio's son, but like a lot of other people, like Curtis Axel, you know, he's not as good as his dad. I mean, that's the thing. This has been how this has been for a while. I mean, it's like Elvis. His daughter wasn't even as half as good as he was. Wasn't even good. I mean, you know what I'm saying? This is just how it is sometimes. Then we get Tamina defeating Reginald by disqualification. Now, this side buy, because, you know, Reginald would have a tough time with a big girl like Tamina. You know, Reginald, like, really hasn't been doing anything for weeks. I don't know, they were, like, all in on Reginald, like, a few weeks ago and before WrestleMania. Now he's just, like, a guy on the sidelines. Now they're putting him in the ring, and now he's doing the flips again and everything. And the DQ, they beat up Natalya. Natalya, you know, seemed like she put on piles of more clothes this week. So I'm not interested in. Anyway, they beat up on Tamina at ringside. A Samoan drop into the barricade, which looked pretty brutal, but we're probably going to forget about it in a week because who the fuck cares about this segment? There's nothing here to hold our interest to. There's no real story here. There's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get big spots, and I'll point it out, like, damn, like a big Samoan drop into the barricade, but, you know, what are we getting out of it, really? A 10-man tag, which is just like way too many people fucking in the ring here. With just, you know, getting everybody on the show. So this is the match, you know, that they made with when Sami Zayn was back there with Teddy Long, with Sonya Deville, when she was showing no personality. King Corbin, Sami Zayn, Apollo Crews, Otis, and Chad Gable defeating Big E, Naka Murphy, the Street Goofs, and Kevin Owens. And this was just like whatever. You know, they're like seriously, like whatever, like just a bunch of people, like, you know, nothing of any significance happened. It's just like a fucking mess, basically. You know, there was nothing. They keep doing all these multi-man tags every single week because they can't figure out, like, yeah, we don't know how to book these people. Just put them all together, for God's sakes. That's what happens. And you wind up with a big mess like this. So we'll finish it up in the last, because that was your main event, basically. That was your big main event, the 10-man tag that was completely meaningless. No stakes, no nothing on the line, nothing, no one gets anything from winning or losing. And then we have in the last segment some pretty good tension with Roman, you know, telling Jimmy Uso he could go home, and, you know, his kids are going to say to him, you know, well, what are you doing at home when you could be there with your family on TV? And there was some good tension, and then Cesaro comes in and, you know, just does the beatdown, and I don't know, just the end. Just I'm looking at Cesaro, and to me, like, when he first ran in, I you know what my first impression was? Like, man, he looks like Adam Pearce. Like, seriously, like, I look at Adam Pearce, I look at Cesaro now, And I just see two guys with like faces that just don't look like I'm looking at their faces and just like, these are some bland faces. Like Cesaro, he has a bland face. I mean, he does, like, when he's out there. I mean, you look at Cesaro and Roman Reigns on the poster side by side, like, advertising the match at Backlash. Like, I'm looking at, like, do these guys look like this is a main event worthy match? And the funny thing is, like, the guy had already been in WWE for a few years, and if you showed this to someone in 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, they'd all say it didn't look like a main event match. But here in 2021, just with a little bit of, a camera magic there. Ooh, we had Cesaro win a few matches. Now it's a main event worthy match, and I'm excited for Cesaro. You didn't even care about Cesaro a few months ago. Now a bunch of goofs on the internet are suddenly excited for this. I don't get it. Anyway, yeah, so if I had to say something, I did enjoy Jimmy returning tonight. Jimmy Uso did add something, not a whole lot, but it was a little bit better. This whole SmackDown retro thing was completely worthless. There was nothing we got out of this. And the other thing I didn't mention, we've got Pat McAfee dressing up like in Vince McMahon's old attire again with just the old classic WWE logo, the old table. Even though at SmackDown in 1999 they had a regular table, but here they are with the old table that just like kind of like just a boxing like timekeeper's table is what we get. Like, do they even remember their own show? Did these writers or people putting this together in production, did they even just simply watch an episode of an old SmackDown and remember this for one moment? I don't understand what they were doing. They make an intro, they put it on YouTube, but they don't put it on the actual show. Like, what the fuck are they doing? How does any of this make any sense? It's retro SmackDown, but hey, we're going to do like it's from the 80s, and the SmackDown wouldn't even be on the air for another decade. What a bunch of morons. Like, honestly, like, I understand we don't care, we're making money, but have a little bit of self-respect for the product. I mean, at least make a little bit of sense. You're advertising a retro SmackDown. Can it actually be a retro SmackDown and not just a retro whatever? Like, hey, well, it's there's a bunch of retro stuff. You figure it out. I mean, that's what I got from it. Like, why am I being shown here? Like, what? Anyway, I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you all for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again, guys. I'll see you next time.